Okay, I want to post this video to not only um, leave as a video response to Jay Arobi's Pincer opening, but I have previously posted a primary video showing the Pincer opening, which Jay Arobi was talking about on Saturday morning, and this is a secondary video I'm going to post now. Some of the comments that I got on my video are that this opening wouldn't be strong enough for club level, and I just want to see and show what Ribka thinks about the opening. So if we move in, the opening starts off with e3 for white, which is generally met by in my blitz games anyway by e5 by black, which white continues on with g3, d5, bishop g2. Black tries to close the center. B3, the fianchetto both bishops, and then I see this quite often with an early attack on the queen, which pins the knight to it. The opening continues on with an attack on the king sometimes, which leaves both of white's knights pinned. Both bishops on the fianchetto positions, and black with his two bishops trying to lock down white's knights. Now black could develop the knight to c6 here to keep symmetry going, but after he moves his knight to b6, at this stage Ribka puts that's Ribka 2.1 Demo Aquarium puts white up plus 0.07, which is really nothing, so it's pretty much equality here at the minute. So the game continues for me is with a castle followed by a long castle for black. More often than not, in the games that I've played so far, I noticed that black tends the castle long. So the game continues then with a3, just to try and open up my queenside attack now, since I'm castled safely and I'm developed. And after the bishop goes to d6, there's an opportunity here for white to win a piece. So it goes as follows. There's white up a pawn. Now, because of the position, Ribka only puts white up a third of a pawn. So perhaps although black is down a pawn, perhaps white's position is a little bit weak. Other alternative moves, which the computer suggests that bishop takes g7 is a stronger move in this position for white, which also wins a pawn, but it doesn't put him up by a whole pawn. It only puts him up by plus 0.37. But let's continue with my game, which is bishop takes e4. The game continues with f6 for black, and I figured that I want to try and break this pin that black has on my e2 knight against my queen. So I just simply push it up, and it's aimed with the idea that to give my knight some more mobility in the position. And after black plays queen e6 to centralize his queen, there are moves now such as bishop d5, which gives black plus 0.62 as a percentage point on a pawn. So the game continues anyway with I swing, rather than doing bishop d5, I swing my bishop back home, which actually begins to tilt the position to black. It's giving the initiative back in some ways. And with the move, the bishop to c5, it's not only building up on the e3 pawn, but it opens up a discovered attack on my queen, and at the same time black is still eyeing up the knight on e2, and therefore white's queen is beginning to get a little bit overloaded. Now this is simply poor play by white that has led to this position, but a refute to all of this is that if white was to play knight to d4 now, the computer would put white up nearly a pawn, which is the pawn that he's up. So I didn't actually play knight to e4. I played queen e1, which still maintains half a pawn for white. Just so the game continues with h5 for black, which is good pawn. It's beginning to threaten the king side, and it's going to expose some weaknesses here on the dark squares, perhaps for white. So I decide that I'll attack the bishop on c5 since it's starting to build up and adding to some of the turmoil that is building up onto white's king. Black rotates the bishop and I play c4. Now I think that black misses c5 here because he plays h4. c5 obviously loses a piece for black, so I played c5. He decides he wants to trade his knight and keep his strong bishop on the attack on the king, followed by the move order, which I think is opens up quite a sharp position where I set up a discovered attack on b7 with once I move the b2 bishop, and I'm also eyeing up b7 with the g2 bishop, which can lead to check if I want to sack that bishop, and it can lead to a discovered attack then on the king with the b1 rook, and as the b2 bishop moves to attack another piece. So computer's giving white up a pawn here nearly still. After black takes the g3 pawn, I just recapture back, opening up the f file for the rook. Ribka doesn't like that move at all, and in fact suggests that h takes g3 is a much better move, although it doesn't open up the file. I think it locks down and protects white's king a lot better. So definitely the move where there was h takes g3, but in my game I play the f2 pawn takes g3, but it leaves the e3 pawn hanging, and it's what drops the percentage point and sways it into black's way. Now that was an incorrect move by me, really, which has led to the swing and the initiative in the swing and positional advantage. The game continues with bishop to h3. Okay, so it's this particular position that I think is worthy of talking about in terms of club level. The particular opening that we started with has led to this position here with play by black and white, which is fairly active. A lot of pieces are building up in the b7 pawn. f6 has become quite weak due to its attack by b2 bishop after a check with the g2 bishop. Now those Fianchetto bishops were set up very early on in the game, and therefore that particular weakness has been generated by the opening. It has an awful lot of lines which follow from it. So you've got d2 check, say. Now, say king takes, and then you have a lot of activity here. We have bishop to here, say check. King probably goes to c8. Takes bishop, which leaves the rook hanging, and then the queen takes, which leaves black up 1.70, which is a fairly nice line to follow. There are other lines that follow. For example, rather than knight d4, there is knight takes f6 check, which can lead to, say, king c8 takes, bring your bishop back to defend e3, and then probably h3, with again pretty good play. You've got two bishops versus bishop and a knight there, with black this time having 2 pawns advantage.